Hey, it's Tim with the University of Vinyl. Thank you very much for tuning in again today. I hope everyone is getting a little bit of downtime and relaxation over the holidays. It's been great for myself. Things are going well. I did have kind of a busy end of year push for work, but able to kind of sit back, reflect on the year. And what I've been trying to do, I think for the last couple of years, is I put out, a top 10 list of the best finds that I've had over the past years. So when I say finds, in I think 9 out of 10 cases for today's video, I'm going to show 10 records that I've found. Only one was a Discogs purchase, and it's been a lifelong, have I been in vinyl? I'm going to save that record for last, and that is a record that was on my radar for years. I bought the CD originally when it came out in 1993, and I wanted to have a copy of that on vinyl. I'll talk more about that when we get to it. So let's start off with a record that I found within the last 2 weeks in Denver at a great shop called Wax Trax. If you know Denver record stores, you're going to know Wax Trax. I'll tell you a little secret. When I go to shows in Denver, if Wax Trax is there, they are one of the first tables or booths that I will visit. They consistently always pull heat. I don't know what it is, but they find fabulous records that are not easy to find. And I have found so many things at Wax Trax or at a booth of theirs at a particular show. This is the 4th album released by Throwing Muses, the great band fronted by Kristen Hirsch, co-founded by Tanya Donelly. And this record came out in 1991. It is an amazing record that is incredibly hard to find. I thought I was going to have to resort to Discogs for this one. And I'm talking about the real Ramona. There it is right there. This, of course, came out on 4AD in the UK. And then it came out on Sire in the US. And it is incredibly hard to find. This is the original inner sleeve with all of the credits and the songs. Something referencing the last song on the album, which is one of my favorites, Two Step. There's a look at the kind of a custom label that Sire did for Throwing Muses for this record. This was the last record in the original Throwing Muses run of records that Tanya Donelly would appear on. I think she came back in the early 90s when Kristen put out another album, and I think she sang backup vocals on that. Tanya Donelly, as is Kristen Hirsch, they are amazing artists in their own right. You know, what I love about these early records from Throwing Muses, the ones that Donelly was still a part of, is you have the intensity, and sometimes it can be kind of overbearing with Kristen Hirsch. She is very intense. And some of her songs don't have the same light and bounce and pop sensibility that Tanya Donelly brought to the game as far as Throwing Muses was concerned. You know, Donelly in 1991, she was already a part of the Breeders with Kim Deal, of course, and then she would go on soon thereafter to form Belly, and she took the bass player that played on the Throwing Muses with her, and they put out Star eventually in 1993. I've been following Tanya on Instagram, and I'm really happy to see that. So they're doing the 30th anniversary is 2023 from the 93 Star album, And I think they did a little tour in the UK. And as far as I know, I think they're going to be lining up some dates in 2024. I think they're working on a new album. So really exciting stuff for Tanya Donelly. There's the back cover. They were a 4-piece at that particular time. Near mint condition. Picked it up at Wax Trax. I was shocked to see this in the new arrival bin. I have been looking for this record for years, and like I said, I was about ready to pull the trigger. I've had this in my cart on Discogs on many different occasions. I love the closing track, which is 2-step, and I love the 2 Tanya songs, which of course were Honey Chain and Not Too Soon. This is probably the poppiest sounding Throwing Muses record. They're all great, and don't get me wrong, I am not dissing Kristen Hirsch. She's one of my favorite artists as well. She just has a different style, a different intensity, contrasted to Tanya Donelly. So one of the best finds of the year. It happened within the last week and a half. That is Throwing Muses with the Real Ramona from 1991. I always make a point to go to the Rocky Mountain Record Show. It is a fantastic show that started about 3 years ago. And I think they're doing 2 a year. They're currently, doing the shows in the Rhino neighborhood, which is just down the street. The last show that they did in early fall, it's just down the street on Brighton Boulevard from the new Vinyl Me Please plant, which I think currently is maybe scheduled to open, hopefully, maybe a soft open in February of 24. They've had some delays. But I always go to that Rocky Mountain Record Show when I can, and this time I think it was in the spring show. I finally found a copy of the final Joy Division record, Closer, from July of 1980. This came out, I think, only 2 months after the death of Ian Curtis. Such a great album. Probably, what you might want to call a goth masterpiece. One of the first goth albums, if you ask me. I'm going to show another early goth album next that I picked up at the same show. But this is Closer, 1980, July. And I have an original UK pressing, of course, on that factory label. Okay, next up is the second Cure album, 17 Seconds, and this record, of course, is worth the price of admission alone for a Forest, but I also love, the title track, 17 Seconds. I love the song M, Play for Today. This is also an amazing, very cool soundscape to it, and very kind of dirgy and gothy as well. Love if you look at that kind of bleak, dreary cover, it kind of foretells what you're going to be listening to, but it is a glorious listen. It's an immersive experience, this record, and so is Closer as well from Joy Division. But pick this up at the same show, and this is an early German, a first German pressing, and there is the back cover. There's a look at the label, of course, Fiction Records, and in the dead wax, this has got stamped Strawberry, which tells me they used the same metalwork and plates that were used on the initial UK pressings with Strawberry mastering. It sounds really, really good. It's dead silent. It's in near mint condition. Definitely a top find for me for 2023. Okay, also picked up at that same show, the Rocky Mountain Record Show in Denver, I picked up a UK first pressing of XTC's 84 album, The Big Express. And of course, this came on the die cut You know, it looks like a train spoke wheel. This is an amazing record. You know, I did a ranking of all the XTC albums a couple of years ago, and I really kind of gave, you know, thinking about it now retrospectively, I gave kind of short shrift to Mummer, which came out in '83, and then this is '84, Big Express. I didn't really give these two albums enough time and attention. They are both outstanding in their own right. You know, '84, when this came out, this was a super modern sounding record. There were Lynn drums on this, a lot of Mellotron on here as well. You know, the standout song on here is This World Over. It is an amazing slow burn. And the soundscape and the sound stage on that song, on this record, and I've heard it on the US pressing as well. It sounds great. Go get that if you can't find this, but this deserves more attention than it has received. A really fine record by XTC, and this is a cool pressing. If you watch my channel, you know that I am out and about. You know that I am out and about weekly looking for records whenever I have some free time. This is something that I found late spring. This, of course, is Pacific Ocean Blue, the Dennis Wilson 1977 solo record, the only solo record we got from Dennis. Tragically died too young in 1983. He was working on another follow-up or a follow-up record to Pacific Ocean Blue. Never finished it. This is a very cool cover and a very cool pressing of this record. You know, we get the full gatefold here. You know, one of the few vertical gatefolds as far as, you know, the photography is concerned. Two others come to mind, Blonde on Blonde and Frampton's, Frampton Comes Alive. You'll see a timing strip there. This is indeed a gorgeous white label promo of this record. You know, I put this thing on. I took a look at this. There's absolutely no marks around the spindle hole, which tells me this thing had never really been played much. It's near mint. You know, it makes me think that this was maybe sent to a record executive or someone in the biz and they put it on their shelf and never played it. Who knows? But it is a fantastic example on that Brother Records label, Pacific Ocean Blue. You know, there are songs on this record that sound like they could be Little Feat records. Very, very funky, tons of soul, tons of kind of bluesy, rollicking feel to them. Two songs in particular I'm talking about that you can hear that would be Pacific Ocean Blues and Dreamer. Those two songs in particular have a real cool, funky blues tilt to them. So it's an amazing record. Something I have always been looking for. You don't see it very often, and really got lucky here in Fort Collins at a shop called Bazaar. It was in the new arrivals bin one day for under $40 and snapped it up. So one of my favorite artists that we lost several years ago, tragically drug overdose in Nashville, Steve Earle's son, Justin Townes Earle, is someone that I had the chance to see live once back in 2011 here in Fort Collins. And he was touring this record, which is Harlem River Blues. It's an amazing record and really, really hard to find. I picked this up at a shop that opened about a year ago here in Fort Collins called Driver 8 Records. Charles is the owner, and he has a focus on Americana and alt country. I think that's kind of his forte, but he also has a lot of jazz, a lot of classic rock, a lot of 90s rock as well. And this is just a gorgeous record. Was really happy to find that at Driver 8 this year. There's another record shop that's only been open a little over a year now in Fort Collins, just on the outskirts of the Old Town, across from the CSU campus. And I'm talking about Songbird Records. Fantastic shop. Jason is kind of the lead owner there. And shout out to Melissa as well, who I think is the co-owner. John Martin's Solid Air. This is a 1973 UK Pink Island rim pressing that I found in the new arrivals at Jason's shop. Must have been early summer. Check out that gorgeous island pink rim label right there. When I saw this record, I thought, oh geez, look at that thing. It's kind of thrashed. This record is in near mint condition. It was very reasonably priced. Jason! And it is a stone cold British folk and blues with, tinges of jazz as well. This is a late night record, okay? It's just fantastic. And John Martin, one of my favorite artists, and super excited to see the original UK pressing here at Fort Collins, Colorado. I will say that all of the local Fort Collins shops do a great job in finding and seeking out or being in the right place at the right time and bringing in fantastic records that are very collectible, very clean, and priced right. Okay, I think I've shown 7 records so far. I've got 3 more to go. And I want to talk about these next 2 records are interesting. They are things that I was really looking for. And in both cases, they are represses several years down the line from the original pressings. And they are known for having superior sound quality in both cases. Okay, so the first one I will show is For Your Pleasure. This, of course, is the second Roxy Music album. It's the last one that Brian Eno was a part of the band. And it is an amazing listen. I love the title track. And this particular pressing is a reissue from, I think, 1977, late 70s on that Atco label. You will find GP for George Piros in the dead wax. So this was an Atco repress of the record, a repackaging of the album as well. The original came in a gatefold. This is a single sleeve record, and it sounds glorious. Now, go on the Hoffman forums and do a little digging, and you will find that many people talk about these Piros represses as being superior to even the original Island UK pressings. There is a hot tip for everybody. Go look for the George Piros repressings of the entire run of the early Roxy Music albums. They all sound great. I just picked up the self-titled debut album last year on a reissue Atco label with George Piros in the dead wax. So great record, super fine this year. And by the way, these are not super expensive. You can find these. You should be able to find them for between $50 and $30. One of my favorite albums and one of my favorite bands of all time is the Velvet Underground. And in 1970, they put out what is probably the final, if you're really going to think about this, this should be the final, it should be known as the final studio album from the Velvet Underground. I am, of course, talking about Loaded. This is the record where Lou Reed brought in Doug Yule, bass player. He replaced John Cale in the lineup. This is an amazing record, and it was released in 1970. 2 months before its release, Lou Reed went solo and said he was done with Velvet Underground. Doug Yule put out a record that was mainly recorded and produced by himself. He played almost everything on the record. I think it was called Squeeze. It came out in 1973. It's a record. It's a Velvet Underground record, really, in name only. It should not be considered a VU record. Anyway, Loaded. This is an early 1980s pressing on that kind of pink and purple cotillion label, and it is a Specialty Records pressing. I've done a video. I do several videos on different pressing plants, vintage plants from back in the day, and Specialty were one of my favorites. I think they were pressed well. They sound amazing for the most part, and this is no slouch. It is rising in price, unfortunately, on Discogs, but I was lucky to find this at a shop in Longmont, Colorado in the summer, and it's something that had been on my radar. Managed to find a near mint sleeve as well. This is a great sounding pressing. Early 80s on the pink purple label. If you are looking for a great copy of Loaded, this is highly recommended. Okay, we're to number 10, and I teased this record at the very beginning of the video today. I have been looking for a copy of Donald Fagan's second solo album for years, and I just could not find one anywhere. Every record shop I went to over the last 3 or 4 years, in any city that I happened to travel to in the United States and in Europe as well, never could find it. That, of course, is Kamakiriad, 1993. This was, of course, produced by Donald's partner in crime with Steely Dan, Walter Becker. Walter Becker played bass and guitar on the record. He plays all of the solos, and there is one song on this record that was co-written between Donald and Walter. The song is called Snowblind. It's a great tune. They had been working on that for several years in the mid to late 1980s, and it found its way on Fagan's second solo record. This is a special record to me because it brought Donald and Walter back together. Fagan would go on and produce the next year Becker's solo record called 11 Tracks of Whack, and there's a look at that back cover again. They went out and toured as Steely Dan, so they're reformed in 1993, and that led to several more tours. Fagan is touring up to where we are today, and I was really happy to see that he looks great, sounds great, and we will be back out on the road with the Steely Dan band or orchestra, whatever you want to call it, opening for the Eagles, which I'm not excited about. I think they have an abbreviated 45 or 1 hour set. So I'm in no hurry to go see that. But anyway, there it is. It was put out on the Reprise label. I had to go out on Discogs, and I found a copy for a little under, I think, $125. This is a pricey record, and I was happy to pay up for it. Near mint example from somebody in Germany that came in lightning fast time. I had been burned on some overseas things in the past with Discogs, and this one turned out great. I have since gone out and picked up an original UK pressing of Pink Floyd's Metal, which sounds just incredible. I didn't pull that, so I'm not going to show it. But this is Just an incredible record. It is kind of a concept piece if you don't know about Kamakiriad. Again, it's Donald Fagan's, follow-up to The Nightfly, which took about 11 years to come out after 82's The Nightfly. There is the original sleeve. Some of the songs on this record are just breathtaking. Tea House on the Tracks and On the Dunes, the last two songs on the record. All-time classics. If you haven't heard those, go stream them or whatever. Get a CD. This is also an incredibly great sounding pressing, audiophile-esque as far as the imaging. The sound stage on this is great. Really good clarity and, great musicianship and great songwriting. So, picked that up in the spring. I think I got to the month of April or May, and I just couldn't wait any longer. I had been looking for that for so long, and something popped up. You do your little wish list of what you're looking for on Discogs. You'll get a nightly email showing what may have popped up on your list, and sometimes you have to jump on those because they'll be gone soon if you don't jump on them. And that was the case with this Kamakiriad pressing. Thanks everybody for watching. I am going to be back very soon. I've got another video queued up that I'll be probably releasing, I would think, on Friday. So again, happy holidays everybody, and we'll see you soon. Take care.